Hi, folks. Welcome back to Crisco's Corner. This week, liberal lies have created this moment. Trump can do this to secure his legacy. Democrats and their media partners denigrated the president from day one. That's all true. Whether you hated the guy's guts or not, or you loved him, that's all true. According to a new Rasmussen poll, 61% of Republicans think that it's very likely that Democrats stole the election. Well, it depends how you do the stole. You send out hundreds, I should say tens of millions of ballots, many of them unaccounted for, many of them returned without proper documentation or chain of custody. Yeah. And really, why wouldn't they? She's right. For 4 years, Democrats and their handmaidens in the liberal media have lied their heads off, spinning false narratives aiming at undermining President Trump. Why would Trump supporters trust them now? And even with all of this, all of the media, COVID, all the tens of millions of ballots that shouldn't have went out, they still barely beat them. But these idiots don't get that part. They think they really won. Oh, well. The Russian collusion story, which the president rightfully deemed a hoax, and it was. Well, you like the guy or not, it's still, it's unfair. And here's the thing. For those of you out there that think, well, you know what, we got the son of a bitch. All's well that ends well. No. You had to destroy or almost destroy the entire system integrity of the election process nationwide to do it. And there's going to be 40+% people that are always going to believe that the elections are fixed. Was it worth the price? You're going to say, absolutely. But your party's going to be destroyed too. The Democrats are going down in flames because of this. Trump will make out fine. You guys, not so much. Was the granddaddy of misinformation campaigns. It sure was, that Russian collusion story. It led to the appointment of a special counsel and an exhausting investigation that snared and ruined the lives of entirely blameless people like retired General Michael Flynn and his son. Michael Flynn was a threat to the swamp. He had to be eliminated. As Representative Gary Palmer, Republican of Alabama, said, after the release of transcripts showed that Obama officials and Democrats knew they were peddling falsehoods, it is now clear that Adam Schiff lied to his colleagues, that he lied to the media, and he lied to the American public. Adam Schiff wasn't alone. Democrats in the House impeached President Trump for pushing officials in Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden's activities while he was our government's point person in that nation. Little they know how appropriate Trump's request was. In recent weeks, it has become clear that Joe Biden's son Hunter did indeed participate in questionable activities in that corrupt country, and that his father may have protected his interest. Democrats and their media partners denigrated the president from day one, telling tall tales, nefarious self-dealing, and portraying the White House as dangerously unstable. The 2018 New York Times published a great fanfare, the op-ed by Anonymous. Always anonymous. What a famous guy. He gets around, that Anonymous, in which the author claimed he was one of many high-level employees in the Trump administration who are working diligently from within to frustrated parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations. The Times claimed this author was a senior official, I like the quotation marks, and implied that President Trump posed such a threat to the country that it simply had to break its long-standing rule of running anonymous pieces. Yeah, horse shit. Turned out the author was Miles Taylor, at the time served the Deputy Chief of Staff to the Secretary of the DHS. In effect, a nobody. Never once did the mainstream media applaud Trump's many victories, and he had a ton of them. The unemployment figures by itself should have been enough. Like the return of hostages from abroad or trade concessions made by Beijing. Getting out of NAFTA and redoing that. That's huge. Absolutely huge. His breakthrough diplomacy in the Middle East was greeted with a polite yawn. That's being nice, a polite yawn. They actually made fun of it. Oh, my God. You're going to see. You're going to see. You guys are the dog that hated Trump. You're the dog chasing the car. And now the car stopped and you caught the car. What are you going to do now? You guys are screwed. I wouldn't mind so much, but you're going to take down a lot of Americans with you. And the American people are going to suffer. That's the problem. The left-wing media joined Democrats like Michelle Obama in lying about Trump immigration program. Yeah, it was all horse shit. Claiming it was the White House that initiated the policy of separating children from their parents at the border. Oh, the lamentations over children in cages. Turned out the worrisome photos were from 2014, and that was actually the Obama administration that began the malign practice. So many lies, so much nastiness. But nothing prepared Trump supporters for how powerful the mainstream media, Twitter, and Facebook were to jump on the scale to ensure Biden's victory. That's true. No one could have imagined that a documented story about Hunter Biden's shady dealings in Ukraine and China during the years that Joe Biden served as vice president would be banned, literally banned, on social media. Think about that for a minute. Is this victory? Is this a good victory for you guys? The mainstream media is screwed. Maybe Fox might survive and maybe one or two others, but you guys are screwed. Social media is screwed. Now, I mean, the curtain's been pulled away. We all knew that social media was biased, but not this bad. It was impossible to foresee how all dissenting voices on COVID policy and practices, and there was a ton of back and forth from the so-called professional scientists, including from senior health experts, that would be silenced in order to hurt Trump. Nobody expected that unelected media magnate, Twitter's Jack Dorsey, could control what President Trump could say to the public. Yeah, think about that, folks. Do you have any idea how dangerous that is? Trump supporters cheered when 56% of the nation claimed they were better off than 4 years before. Could not and do not believe that they would fail to win re-election. Unlike the left, these folks understood why he was elected in 2016. Absolutely. They know it was because people were fed up with the elite globalists of Barack Obama and liked the unabashedly pro-U.S. message from an outsider candidate. They were sickened by the tracery excesses of political correctness and hunger for a president determined to protect them from terrorists, tighten our borders, and take on China. You betcha. Liberals have a very different idea about why President Trump was elected in 2016. Yeah, these idiots. Writing in Foreign Policy recently, Ivan Krastev and Stephen Holmes argue that Trump built his political brand by encouraging many Republican voters to see themselves as belonging to a shrinking white minority that can only maintain control of the commanding heights by undemocratic means. Jesus, what a crock of horse shit. And people bought it. People bought this nonsense. You know what? Trump's got a lot of faults without making them up. That's the thing. These nitwits and others and the smug intelligentsia who so despise Trump and the people who voted for him do not understand that millions of Americans love their country and want a president who shares that enthusiasm. When Barack Obama declared that small-town Midwesterners get bitter, cling to their guns or religion, or antipathy to people who aren't like them as a way to explain their frustration, it wasn't just a slip. That's how he really feels. That's true. Tens of millions of Americans have lost faith in our institutions, in our media, and now in our elections after months of Democrats rewriting the voting rules, and they have, extending deadlines and pushing mail-in voting. Only 44% of Republicans a month before the election thought the ballots would be accurately cast and counted nationwide, a record low. These doubts are now fueling uncertainty about the election outcome, uncertainty encouraged by President Trump. Unhappily, there appear to be enough instances of voter irregularities to feed suspicions, but not enough to overturn the results. Oh, I'll bet you if there was a 6-month investigation, almost all the states would be overturned. But alas, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Trump supporters will want the president to be their voice going forward, whether he chooses to run again in 2024 or whether he is content to be a senior party influencer. Trump is not going away. How about you libtards out there? He's not going away. That's true. But now to maintain his powerful voice and leadership, he needs to concede. The left is using his refusal to admit defeat as more proof that he's undermining our democracy. Jesus, talk about deflection. It's the progressives and the leftists and their Democrat allies. They're not the same. And they're Democrat allies that are putting democracy at risk. He cannot allow this to be his legacy. His presidency is but so much bigger than that. Trump should confront the left, as he has done on many occasions, by calling off the shaky legal battles and by stepping aside, if only for now. I don't know what to make of him stepping aside. If I was in his inner circle and he valued my opinion, I'm not really sure at this point what I would do, what I would advise him. I mean, you're in for a dime, you're in for a dollar. I'm not sure. But I know one thing. This whole thing has been a fiasco from the beginning. I remember the night Donald Trump won. I was teary-eyed. I had goosebumps. The hair stood up in the back of my neck that finally we got these progressive leftists think that better than everybody else and tell us how to live our lives. We're going to be at least taken on and maybe even lose. But as time went on, I saw what was happening, and I was disgusted. Half the Republican Party's to blame, too. They had 2 years, the Senate, the House, and the presidency. They did a bunch of stuff, but they should have worked on health care. There's a few other things they should have worked on and didn't do it because the old school neocons in the Republican Party wouldn't help. It's such a shame that a golden opportunity to do so much good was wasted. But a lot of good was done. And hopefully it'll carry through. But I'm afraid a lot of the executive orders, a lot of the things that were put in are going to be reversed. Now, we've got 2 years until the midterms. That's assuming, of course, that President Trump doesn't succeed in his legal challenges, depending how far it goes. We'll see. I just discussed it with this whole thing. You know, I left the Democrat Party in 2013 because the local Democrats were just getting wacky, and now they're completely out of control around here. They're just as wacky around here as they are in Washington, sadly enough, and I'm in upstate New York. We're supposed to be a little bit better. But unfortunately, it's not. I think this progressive leftist virus is more contagious and more deadly than COVID-19. God knows how many tens of thousands of people will die directly, indirectly from this literal horse shit and this progressive and leftist BS. But you're never going to find out because those stats you can't keep. And that's the way it is. If President Trump decides to run again in 2024, you'll get no bigger supporter than myself. Even if you didn't like him, just for the fact that you show these people they can't do this. They can't put our country and democracy at risk. Even if you hate his guts, you should support him running again. Just to show that the swamp is deep and it's big. And it runs through all the agencies, especially the CIA, the FBI, National Security, and the Justice Department. With both the Senate and the House, he could have cleaned that out. And that would have been good for the American people. But alas, at least it was exposed for what it is. We'll see. I'm pretty optimistic about the Republican Party and President Trump in the next few years. We'll see how things work out. I'm not sure, Liz, if I agree with you. I'm 50-50 and letting him walk away now. But we'll see what happens. You never know. And until next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.